Hello and welcome to TomiTalks TV. I have one singular goal with this show, and that is to help you make smarter decisions so that you can have better relationships. I'd like to start as usual by saying a very big thank you. Thank you for all your likes and your shares and your comments on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. I really appreciate you because you're helping us spread the message further faster. So thank you very much indeed. Now today have I got a surprise for you. I have got a guest in my studio and I'm so excited. Now I'll tell you a little bit about my guest. So his name is Tunde Oyekola. He is an architect and the CEO of El Mansur Atelier Group, an architecture, engineering and construction company in Abuja, Nigeria. And under his leadership, El Mansur has designed 4 national airports and successfully completed the fast track Greenfield Dutse Airport in 18 months. That has to be record breaking. Now, Tunde has also led EMA in several multinational collaborative efforts with global partners, delivering a variety of projects, including projects for international oil and gas companies, commercial real estate developments, healthcare facilities, and diplomatic missions. Tunde is an incisive teacher of God's word, and I can testify to that. And he is actively engaged in supporting missionaries in Nigeria and youth groups in various high schools. He's a field representative of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International. He is a keen runner, and I have to say he was the one that got me into running. He's a keen runner and has run marathons in London, Chicago, Dubai, and Accra, and several half marathons on 5 continents. Now, I'm nowhere near that, so I'm just an amateur compared to that. And he has been happily married to Adebola, his lovely wife, who also happens to be my lovely sister, for 28 years, and they have 2 beautiful daughters. So can you join me and welcome to the show, Tunde Oyekola. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Tomi. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me here. It's an honor and a pleasure.
It's lovely to have you. So any new runs on the horizon?
Oh, with this whole COVID thing, everything is on pause now.
It's all on pause.
When it's over, hopefully we will continue from where we stopped.
Okay. I'm pleased to report that I slacked in my running a short while ago, but now that they're only giving us the opportunity to have one form of exercise a day, I'm actually picking up on my running now.
Oh, proud of you. Awesome. Maybe they should extend this whole lockdown.
I'm not so sure about that. Okay, so what have you been doing with yourself during this lockdown period?
Well, fortunately, we're able to work remotely for the kind of business that we do. So we've been working. Incidentally, a little secret. Mm-hmm. I found out that during this whole lockdown thing, we've been more efficient.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. We've been more efficient with the work that we've had to do during the period.
Wow.
Delivering, the quality has gone up a notch. Okay. The speed with delivery is also better. And so for me, it's positive if you know what I mean. And that's from the consultancy angle. So we've been working.
Wow.
So I've been working every day. Start work normal time.
Consequences.
That's right.
Can I just push you on that a bit? Why do you think that is so, though?
Well, it's amazing how human beings think, but maybe because now that we're locked up at home, there's nowhere to go to, so the distractions are actually less.
Yes.
And you need to fill out the time with something, and you are fortunate to have work to do. And before you know it, the day goes and you're looking for work, the next day. So I think that's what it is. So, So for me, it's positive.
Right.
And okay, of course, in addition to working, of course, we run, whether we're working or stuck or whatever, we run. So I do that every day.
Yeah.
And reading, catching up with reading. And so that's where we've been.
Okay. That's great. Exciting stuff. Okay, yeah. I'll come back to the whole reading bit towards the end.
Okay.
But I'd just like to ask you, so you've been happily married to my sister now, and I know you're happily married. You've been happily married for 28 years, over 28 years. If you had to share with people what is the secret for being happily married for that long, what would your one secret be?
That's a tough one, but choosing to be happy.
Choosing to be happy. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I tell
Because
you
for me, you
something,
see,
your sister, your wife would say exactly the same thing.
oh, really?
Absolutely. For anyone who has
Wow.
not watched her interview, go watch her interview. She said exactly the same thing.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So there you go.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
because I mean, happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
And anyway, maybe as we go on, it'll come up. But it's amazing how the choices you make affect your actions and reactions and so on and so forth. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Wow, I like that. And that really agrees with my thinking as well, because I'm always trying to help people see that, life is all about choices. Having a successful marriage is all about choices, about the decisions that you're making. And every decision that we're making is either, leading us higher or lower. It's either taking us forward or it's taking us backwards. So choices that we're making are really crucial. Now, without a doubt, I think one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is pervasive in this whole lockdown situation is this whole issue of finances. The financial fallout of the lockdown is a pervasive concern for many families. I mean, some people have lost their jobs. Some are afraid they will lose their jobs. Some businesses have closed down. It's all sorts of challenges. Now, I'd like you to share with us, what are the most important lessons that you have learned about family finances that people need to take note of in this season?
Well, I mean, it's amazing that you talk about the impact of finances or the impact of the lockdown on finances, or whichever one is coming first. The interesting thing about finances is that it's been there for as long as mankind has been on this planet. And well, from a scriptural bias, to let you know how important finances or money is, it's the only thing that Jesus compared to God in terms of influence. Because he says you can't love God and mammon. You either love one and hate the other, or hate the one and love the other. In other words, in terms of its influence, it's almost like God, if you know what I mean. And that is very, very, very instructive. So yeah, I mean, when there's a lockdown, there's a financial problem. When there's no lockdown, there's a financial problem. So the lockdown in itself is not what is causing the challenge or the problem. It's there because without the lockdown, it was there anyway. So the question is what's the one thing I have learned? Oh, I can't say the one thing. I've learned so many
things. Okay, can you share with us a few things then that you think are crucial? Because the point you're making is that it's not the lockdown that is the issue, but then there's a foundational issue in people's finances, and the lockdown seems to be exacerbating that whole foundation.
Oh yeah. I mean, every single situation tends to magnify a challenge, or tamp it down as the case may be, depending, So for some people, this lockdown will tamp down on their financial situation. For some other people, this lockdown is going to amp it, as the case may be, depends, But I think it's important to go to the very, very root of it and ask yourself the same question, the same thing Jesus was telling us. What is your attitude towards money?
Right.
Your finances and everything that goes with it, So I'll use the term money and finances interchangeably.
Right.
And I think once you're able to resolve that, it becomes easier to address the challenges that will arise given whatever situation. Because the point is that the challenges will always arise. Because money itself is, in the kind of economy that we live in, nobody has enough. Yeah. And because you do not have enough, and that's relative, because like with everything, it's relative. What you call enough might not enough, and so on and so forth. So that goes from individual to individual or couple to couple. But you need to define what your relationship with money is. You need to define, I think one of the biggest things I kind of stumbled into, and it has to do with general decision making, is, I like to go to the very, very end and figure out what I want the end to be like.
Right.
And then work my way backwards. Because if, like we say, it all has to do with choices.
Yeah.
And the kind of choices, as you sit down now, you cannot, play forward every single scenario that you will be in to know that when I get to do this, then this is what I'll do, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing you know for a fact, and I know for a fact, is that one day is going to be the end for each of us.
That's right.
And how do you want to leave this place? In what kind of situation do you want to leave this place? And work your way backwards? Because money or finances is one of the boats you need to get to where it is you're going.
Right.
That's the point. So you're asking yourself, do I need a speedboat? Do I need a cruise ship?
Okay.
What exactly do I need? Because if you don't know where you're going,
yes,
you get the wrong boat.
Okay.
And think you're getting an oil tanker. And the port you are going to be in only takes small ships. You have a problem.
Indeed.
So I think couples should, and that's where it's most difficult, should sit down together and ask themselves the very, very hard questions. What do I want the end to be like, and work my way backwards? Basically, it will define your attitude towards money or towards finances. And the big problem, to me, is that lots of couples have conflicting attitudes towards finances. And they're the same boat.
Okay.
That's going to be crisis.
Right. So how do you deal with that then? Because that's a very interesting point. So I have counseled a lot of couples where you find that their perspectives to money, are quite different. So you find that, one person complaining, this one spends too much, my spouse is too stingy, they have, a different perspectives. And I always tend to teach that opposites attract. So how do you deal with those differences? I think what I hear you saying is that, maybe you should have similar values around money, even though you don't actually handle money the same way. I don't know. I mean,
well, you see, it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, you could wish that the couple would have similar attitudes towards money.
Mm-hmm. And
if they do, that's okay. Now, it doesn't really mean that they'll make a success of it. It just means that they have a certain platform.
Okay.
But you have another couple who just have opposing attitudes. I mean, or different, let's use the word different.
Okay.
The great thing about marriage is finding that sweet spot, a balance, a healthy balance.
Right.
Where I can be me and you can be you.
Okay.
Now, if you're able to get that healthy balance, then it doesn't really matter, because you are not going to change because of me. I'm not going to change because of you. Because if we're married and there's a certain way in which I like to use or spend, or I relate to money, and yes, and I'm not talking about inordinate things. It's just normal the way we are. If I suspend mine because of you, I'll be unhappy in the relationship. And if you suspend yours because of me, you'll be unhappy. The question is, how can we come to a certain meeting of minds where I can be me and be happy that I have you, and you can be you and be happy that you have me, and I don't feel judged by my attitude, you don't feel judged by your attitude. But at the same time, we being ourselves would not jeopardize the ship of our relationship and get it to sink. Because you see, at the end of the day, if we get it to sink, then we both failed.
That's true.
And so you need adults in the room to sit down and say, well, without being judgmental or sounding judgmental, this is what I see. Because, we come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Completely different backgrounds. Sometimes the backgrounds are similar. The background of my wife and I are pretty similar in very, very, very many respects. But some people come from very, very different and divergent backgrounds. But can they make a success of it? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I think that the key thing is openness and transparency. Where judgment is taken out. So I struggle to understand, okay, so this is how my wife actually sees me. Interesting. I would never have seen it that way. I think it is over the top. But it's what it is.
Yeah.
She, on the other hand, will say, this your frugality has no part two, but it's what it is.
Indeed.
So we need the two.
Yes.
To make the thing work. So the frugal person will be pinched when the other person is spending. And you see, when somebody is extremely frugal, spending £1 extra is really biting at the person.
Indeed.
But the person needs deliverance in that area. On the other hand, the other person who is, all over the place, I'm thinking, hey, come on, this thing is limited, we need to draw it down a bit.
Yeah.
But if they can make it's an art that you get out of openness, and if you can put that on the table, Adam and Eve were naked and not ashamed.
Wow. Yes.
If we can get to that point, then the couple have hit on something that they can work with, and then you get couples getting to themselves to say, I really wouldn't have spent this, but because of you, can you imagine? I managed to, that's for the frugal person. And the other one is, I really wanted to do this, but because of, I just thought I wouldn't, So, and it's a balance that we learn going forward.
That is absolutely amazing. I think you're just so spot on. You hit the nail on the head. I think that the two things that you said there that I find so profound. The first of them talking about the fact that there should not be any judgment when it comes to your relationship with money, because you've got to really put yourself in the other person's shoes to understand where they're coming from and why they view money the way that they view money. That's the first thing. And then there's also the aspect of being open and transparent, because one thing I always say, because people ask me this question about, should couples have joint accounts? Should they not have joint accounts? And I keep saying to people, look, it's not a question of joint accounts or no joint accounts. The point is this: there needs to be openness and transparency. Do what works for you in terms of how you arrange your accounts, but ultimately, both parties in the marriage should know what is coming in and what is going out. And that's what transparency is all about. And as long as you both agree on what's coming, you both know what's coming in and you both agree on what's going out, then, it makes life so much easier. Whether or not you choose to have joint accounts or you have maybe one joint account and you have separate accounts, whatever works for you. But it's all about transparency at the end of the day. And then again, back to the issue of no judgment, I think that's really key. One of the things I shared about money languages is in one of my previous videos.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Saying people that, everyone, has their own different money language. And you're very likely to be married to someone who has a different money language from you. So you might find that, some person's money language, maybe one of the money languages is love. So they feel, once I have money, I want to spend it on people, help people, and they feel like they're showing love by doing that, and another person's money language is security. So theirs is, I want to save as much as as I can. And ultimately, like you're saying, you just have to find the balance of how both works, because you need to show the love, but then if you keep showing the love and then you don't,
you will get the love of an empty pocket.
You run into trouble.
Right. Correct.
Need both perspectives. No, that's absolutely profound. Absolutely profound. No, that I really appreciate that. So,
and let me add one very, very quick thing, and that is how the family the family setting has changed over time. Okay. So it used to be relative to finances. It used to be in the past that the father or the husband was the traditional breadwinner, and the wife was either playing a supportive role or just stay at home. And, they say he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
That's right.
So being the traditional breadwinner meant, therefore, that he had one more vote than his partner. And that's subsisted for a long time. But, things started changing where the wife was, the wife was now also beginning to earn, and then they became kind of at par. But the man with the two votes is just so used to the two votes, he's not ready to change. And then you get to a point today where the wife is earning much more than the husband, and she's thinking, hey, if he who pays the piper is dictating the tune, and what is good for the goose is good for the gander, and I'm earning more than you are, then I should have the two votes now, don't you think? And that is causing a big rift in the family, because from the one extreme to the other extreme, we have lost the principle of openness, transparency, consideration, and so on. Point being that it doesn't really matter who is bringing in what.
Exactly.
Or rather, it shouldn't matter who is bringing in what, as long as there is respect for each person's values. So, in different countries, the law would back different people to say, look, the fact that the person is not working doesn't mean that the person is not bringing in something. It's just you are bringing in the hard pounds or dollars or naira, as the case may be. Then bringing in something which you need to value. And in the eyes of the law, is 50-50, as the case may be.
Yes.
And the reason for that, or the logic of that, is that once the thing comes in, we all have a stake. We know who the head is and so on. That's without question. But let's all respect each other. Respect each other's voices in the conversation. And make a decision that takes everybody into consideration. And hey, the children are also growing up, so they get to a point where they're also trying to make their voices heard.
Indeed.
Whether you like it or not, they're part of the conversation. But as parents, we just try to hush them down to say, listen, you are just spending, you are bringing in nothing. But this is the point at which they learn to go do what it is they have to do. So we need to really pay a lot of attention to that, because that is a big causative factor for financial crisis.
I think that's a really, really critical point that you've just raised, because it's like in a lot of people's minds, they haven't moved on from that whole traditional mindset to actually take a step back and take a view, and a completely different view of what's happening in the marriage. And that raises all sorts of issues, because I counsel a lot of people, and then you find women writing to me and saying, well, I earn this much and all that, but my husband insists that once I earn my money, I give him every single dime that I earn, and then he determines what I can spend. And it can be really, really difficult, because ultimately this person you're talking about is an adult. This is a woman.
Correct.
And then you want to control every single aspect of her spending. And unfortunately, that's a model that that some men have embraced. But what you are talking about is instead a model of servant leadership, where you recognize that, well, you are the leader, in the home, and it is your responsibility to cover the home. But then you also recognize that, your wife brings in, she has a part to play, and there's that value that you place on that. And then the woman on her own part also places value on her husband, and there's that mutual respect, and that makes a huge difference. So I think you've hit on something that is really crucial, and I think is at the heart of a lot of
indeed. Again, one more thing, because these things come up all the time. So you gave two examples, but you skipped the third one, which is really, really important.
Right.
The third one being in some homes where the man is not earning at all, and the woman is doing all the earning.
Yeah.
And there also you have a huge problem.
Yes.
And it's a huge problem from both sides. But I would say usually it's from the man's side, and the men will want to flame me for this, but it just isn't fair. Yeah, I know this world is not a fair place, but your home should be a fair place. A leader who is fair is more likely to have willing subjects than an unfair leader.
That's true.
So you get situations where a lot of the women, and particularly Christian women who understand the whole principle of submission and so on and so forth, in order not to rock the boat too much, tell God, you have to understand what I'm going to do now. And then what they do is to hide some, declare the rest.
Wow.
Hope that it is understood and used meaningfully. But if that is not done, well, there's something hidden that will take care of the other things. Because really, men and women are significantly different in the things they like and what they want to spend money on and so on. And that will never change. It's been as old as creation itself, you know, and you need to give each other room to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So if she wants to spend more on, okay, I'll give you a very, very interesting example.
Right.
So I walk into the mall with my daughter and my wife, and we're supposed to split. So how do we split? 2 against 1. And my daughter says, I'm going with daddy.
Okay.
And my wife says, okay, fine. So she goes to one end of the shop. We go to the other one. And so in this new shop, the shop we go to, so we get into this shop, and I'm talking on the phone, and my daughter just tells me that she wants to get something. I say, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. So she gets what she wants to get. Then she says she's ready to pay. She says, daddy, give me your card. So I happily bring out my card and continue talking. When we are done with everything, I say, okay, so what did you get? What? You mean? So she knew exactly what she was doing. She went with her mom, that purchase wouldn't have happened.
Would not happen.
No. But she came with me. I was distracted. Took full advantage. Knowingly or unknowingly. I'm not judging her, but I'm just saying what happened.
Indeed.
What she wanted. And I checked, and it was just some makeup, you know, lipstick here, this, the little powder. And I'm thinking,
you spent how much?
Exactly, on this. And she says, yeah, let's go. You know, but that's it. She's a woman. That is what a woman would do.
Yeah.
To me. And I'll be honest, I thought, how could you have spent this on that? But that's what she wanted, you know. So we need to understand that. So a little woman, in my eyes, will do that. The big woman, her mom, will do the same thing.
Yes.
Now, I would go to another side of the shop, pick something else, and my daughter, which is exactly what happened.
Yes.
We got to another side of the shop. I wanted a top, something like, it was a big coat. I wanted something warm.
Yeah.
So I picked mine. So she gladly helped me pick because, you know, now I've made her feel guilty. So she needs to help me out of my own predicament without complaining. So I bought mine, and the price was the same.
Okay. So
I said, look at mine. And hers was very small. Mine was big. And then she
but
said,
as you're concerned, the value is equal.
Precisely. She says, I'm going to use this for a year. You're only going to wear this, once or twice or 3 times in this cold weather, and that's it. They're not wearing it again. And she was right. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so when you stretch this to the bigger family, that's what happens. So men should understand that a woman will be a woman. Women should understand that a man will be a man. You don't understand why the man wants to buy another TV in place of the TV that is already there that will not change what you are seeing. But he is saying it is how many pixels, and the pictures are sharper and so on.
And you just about the pixels.
Exactly. But you know, that's where the balance comes in, and the openness and the understanding. And that's what makes family, you know, that to be able to laugh over these things.
Yes, yeah. So it's all about perspective, really. Yeah. That's absolutely fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this and illustrations. Yeah. So just to kind of round up here, I've got, well, first of all, one question about your reading material. So if you are asked to choose just one book, so you're marooned on a desert island and you're not allowed to choose the Bible.
Okay.
And it probably would. But if you're only allowed to have one book with you on a desert island, so it'd be the one book that has made the most impact in your life, what would it be?
In what area of my life?
Ah, okay. So you want to...
So you want us to do finances or what? Since we're talking about finances.
We're talking about finances. So let's hope, yes. So in the area of finances.
Okay. Oh, wow. It's not a big book. And if I was marooned on an island with that book, that would be a huge problem. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason.
All right. Okay. Yes. Fantastic.
And, you know, I have taught with that book over and over. I've held seminars and so on with that book. I think it's a fantastic book because of the values that you find in there. By the way, it was written in 1926. So it's a very old book.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and when you read it, the English is in 1926. So it's like maybe even earlier. So it's like King James kind of English.
Right. Okay.
You know, kind of. So if you can go beyond that, the principles there are so profound that if you're not careful, you will miss out on the principle because the stories are also interesting. Okay. The only problem being the English. It's a book I recommend for everybody, particularly young adults finishing school. You know why, Tommy? Because, you know, so went to school, studied architecture for 6 years. So that we're taught how to draw lines and, you know, imagine buildings and so on. Yes. But nobody taught us how to handle finances. And there are so many financially illiterate adults, couples out there.
Wow. Yeah.
So a lot of the problems that you see in homes are a direct consequence of financial illiteracy. Direct consequence of financial illiteracy. If they were otherwise literate, many of those problems would not arise, or they would be better handled. Okay. You know, and the richest man in Babylon does a fantastic job about that. You know what? You say you won't give me the Bible, but you know, it is so much like the Bible. A lot of the principles are so in there that I can get the Bible out of it if you like. So by recommendation for everybody listening would be go and get that book. If you haven't read it, read it. If you've read it, read it again. And again and again and again. Okay. You know, and then begin to practice what it says. And you will be amazed at how suddenly tempers come down. Because one point, many times when we talk about finances, the issue or the challenge is on the spending part.
True.
We spend a lot of energy on the spending part.
Yeah.
Right. Very little is done about the earning part.
Okay.
Now, but between spending and earning is a vast swathe of land that nobody ever talks about, which is investing,
right,
lifestyle,
yes,
core values. Because you see that middle part, it doesn't matter what's coming in. If that middle part is whack, you have a problem at the end.
Indeed, yes. Absolutely.
You know, so the richest man in Babylon, I think, does a fantastic job of, you know, putting the guardrails properly if you will submit yourself to it. And it's a big if, because some people read it and they just read a story and they can tell you the stories, but haven't learned how to apply. So that's what I'd say. Okay,
so the richest man in Babylon. I've read it quite a while ago, actually. I need to go back to it now.
Yes. And it's not big, so one sitting, one day of this lockdown and you're done.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I've so enjoyed myself. Honestly, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed myself. This has been great. So, very, very quickly, can you just summarize for our men watching? Just talk to our men very, very briefly from your heart. What you think they need to take out of this conversation.
That are men, that we should be men. And a man's job in the home is like the donkey that Christ rode. That's what we are. Let the family ride on and, you know, you just move. The great thing about it is that when the people around put their clothes on, you are the one actually walking on the clothes, you know, even though the adulation may be going to the family.
Yes.
So, you know, we should serve and really serve our families. It means being considerate. It means being tender. It means being open. You know, a man's job in the home is a very tough one, extremely so, if we will do it the way God wants us to do it. And so we need to really sit back and rather than complain about our wives, complain about our children. Let's be men for once. You know, a man in a home, if people haven't eaten, he is not eating. If people are sad, he is sad. If people are happy, then he is happy. when he's not at home, the home should feel empty. When he's at home, they should know there's somebody there. And one quick, very, very quick illustration. I think a few years ago, I traveled to see my mom. And there were things going on around, my mom, some of her neighbors, and so on. So I went in there, and as God would have it, got to get everything sorted out, and everything was okay. Mm-hmm. And I was only there for a few days. And she made a statement. And she said, when a man is in the house feels heavy. And her point was that because the man is in the house, we are all gathered and everything is okay.
Yeah.
And that's how we should be. So rather than fight with our wives, make them feel less than important, or put them down, or make our children, discourage our children by our shouts and so on. We should celebrate them in such a way that they blossom, in our presence. Like the sun, once you come out, everybody should just, wake up and shine and be happy. Like when you are not there, everybody should be dull.
Yeah.
If that's not what's happening in your home, there are some changes need to happen. And if we can do that and be men, then we're being what God wanted us to be.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That was absolutely amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. That was that was really great. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with the audience. So you've heard it all from architect Tunde Oyekola, and there's so many things in here. I hope you were taking notes from the things that he shared. If you've got any other questions which we haven't addressed, you can drop them in the comments box, and we'll circle around sometime this week and answer those questions. You've been a fantastic audience. It's been lovely sharing with you again.
One more thing, sorry.
Yes.
You talked about books. You said you wanted to ask a question about books.
Yes.
Something I was reading.
Oh yeah. So what are you reading at the moment?
Oh yeah, I had to mention that. Well, first of all, I learned a very interesting lesson, which I'd also want to share.
Yeah.
You have to be reading. You just have to be reading. You can't have a time where you're not reading. And I'm just talking about the Bible. Yeah. And one of the things I also learned was don't just be reading one book. It's good to be reading 2 or 3 books. Anyway, so within this period, I've read a number of books. Yeah. I'm reading some more. There's one called by Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell is a very well-known author.
Yes, fantastic.
The Blink is very, very interesting. But the books I'm reading they all have to do with thinking, and So I did Malcolm Gladwell's Blink. I also read Where Good Ideas Come From by Stephen Johnson. Right. And I'm currently reading another Stephen Johnson, which is Farsighted. And it all had to do with decision making, because, Tomi, it's a cause and effect world. It's a social world.
Indeed.
And the better our decision making is today, the better our tomorrow will be. No matter what it is we're into, whether it's family, business, work, friendship, relationship, it's all about decision.
Absolutely.
Making. And it's if because hindsight is 20/20, when you look back, you can see the bad decisions you made and why you should have made different ones. And these books tell you about what to learn from it and how to make better decisions and better judgments going forward to get you to a better place. And the Bible tells us about that all the time. So yeah, I needed to put that.
Farsighted. I'm going to be getting that one for sure. Absolutely, because as you know, I'm all about decision making. The whole idea, the concept behind TomiTalks is to help people make smarter decisions so that they can have better relationships. And I honestly believe that if our decisions are better, our lives will be better, because your life will rise to the level of the decisions that you make. So that's really crucial. So I'm going to be getting that book, Farsighted. Thank you.
All right.
So it's been having you on the show. So everyone, Farsighted, that's the book recommendation. Look for it, as well as The Richest Man in Babylon. It's been fantastic sharing with you today. If you haven't yet joined my radical campaign on Facebook or on Instagram, then please go ahead and do so. We're doing a 30 30-day campaign for the month of April, and it's been absolutely amazing for those that have joined. If you also haven't joined my TomiTalks Marriage Masterclass group on Facebook, then please join. Just look for it on Facebook and ask to join. I will admit you, and I share in that group things that I don't share anywhere else on social media. So it'd be lovely to have you joining that group. It's been great having you. God bless you. Take care and see you next week. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.